everyone. This is the presentation for Outline Defense of Group Z2064 with the title of COVID-19 Protocol Implementation of Barangay Apocon, Tagum City Basis for Training Enhancement Plan. With the proponents of I am Christian Villagana,
Raymond Helbero,
And I'm Jan Caltan.
and for the introduction, the Department of the Interior and Local Government or DILG implored all barangay officials to be more proactive and conspicuous in enforcing the minimum health protocols in their respective communities, especially the auxiliary, the barangay tanod, and enforcing the regulations of all the people. Due to the critical role of the barangays in preventing the continued spread of the coronavirus disease or COVID-19, as the COVID-19 pandemic has progressed, government's ability to track the virus transmissions and use that information to drive their public health effort has become increasingly vital, which is why protocols have been strictly regulated by these officials. In the Philippines, the government was driving force behind the publication of interim guidelines on COVID-19 prevention and control in the workplace, where workers and employers must comply as the country struggles to contain the deadly virus. All precautionary measures are being taken. Regrettably, despite from plans and recommendation coming from the IATF as well as its flaws and weaknesses in the result of faulty and insufficient execution, protocols and the citizens' ability as a result and determining the distance between idealistic and realistic to prevent the leaking between today's conceptions and rationalities. Realistic must be specific circumstance. Given the complexity of the challenges posed by the current crisis and the imperative of maintaining the status quo, mitigate the negative impact of the pandemic, the objective of this study to assist the protocol implementation in Barangay Apocon, Tagum City of the Barangay Tanod. Nevertheless, the research also wanted to provide comprehensive training enhancement plan for the people who are implementing the protocols of this pandemic. Significance of the study. The finding of this study will redound to the benefit of the Barangay Tanod and to the constituents of Barangay Apocon as well as the society as a whole, considering that the implementing of protocols plays a vital role in the safeties and prevents the virus to be worsened. The greater demand for utmost protection is must, so the government should have to make things clearer and more understandable for people about the implementation of the protocols amidst pandemic, and also they should apply holistic approach in dealing with it. Review of related literature. Protocol implementation. Local government units or LGUs must consider granular policies as well as real-time interventions to address differences in local COVID-19 transmission dynamics due to heterogeneity and diversity in communities. Whereas national governments implemented large-scale blanket policies to control pandemic. Some existing practices such as voluntary physical separation, the use of face masks and face shields, mass testing, and school closures may be beneficial in one location but not in another, according to Women's Go Macganto 2020. LGUs, for examples, are gripping with a health crisis that seems to be economic, social, and budgetary implications, while metropolitan areas have been hotspots for the COVID-19 pandemic. There are already health resources in place compared to less developed and poor rural regions. And also LGUs are accountable for adopting, coordinating, and executing COVID-19 rules in compliance with the national government's, province, and local quarantine regulations. This is the community quarantine policies and regulations in Tagum City. 1. People are only allowed to leave their homes to work, buy food or medicine, visit the hospital, or dispose waste. Residents are encouraged to do something beneficial at home, such as backyard gardening and mandated daily domestic cleaning and disinfection of touch surface in their own homes. Number 2, as previously stated in the LGU's COVID-19 advisory, number 1, all public activities are hereby cancelled. The business sector is likewise required to postpone events until the state of public health emergency is lifted. The suspension of Tagum City night market and cockpit operations, as indicated in COVID-19 advisors issued by the local chief executive, is still in effect. Number 4, according to Executive Order 2020-33 issued by Tagum's National Chief Executive, all courses and academic activities from preschool to postgraduate schools are currently suspended. According to the Department of Education Regional Office 11's memorandum, teachers should not report to their station and should only work from home. Number 5, all religious activities that necessitate public gatherings are hereby halted. Individual religious practices are encouraged to be practiced at home through other means that do not necessitate a mass gathering. Number 6, the city of government of Tagum will continue to the business and provide services. Transactions with a single client are highly encouraged. Number 7, frontline offices involved in the COVID-19 crisis management and response team are required to operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, provided that precautionary measures are followed and observed to avoid jeopardizing the health of team members until the state of public health emergency is lifted. Number 8, employees of essential and critical infrastructure from nearby municipalities, cities and provinces, if necessary, screening procedures are followed, and they will be ordered persons under monitoring upon their return. Checkpoints at all Tagum City points of entry will be manned by a combined interagency team consisting of the City Health Office, Philippine National Police and Armed Forces of the Philippines. The full guidelines regarding these clauses are as follows. 8.1, Tagum City's public and private cars are barred from leaving the city. 8.2, within 24 hours, all vehicles going through Tagum and Davao City will be escorted in a group. Valid ID is required. They do not have the authority to pick up passengers in Davao City. 8.3, vehicles belonging to the members of the COVID-19 crisis management and responses team, emergency vehicles, health workers, organic PNP, and 5mm military personnel, delivery or supply chain vehicle coming from outside Tagum, and service vehicle of critical infrastructure undergoing emergency repairs such as transmission companies are permitted to pass through and enter Tagum City with the proper identification. 8.4, new vehicles other than those stated in Section 1 are allowed after 24 hours will no longer be permitted to travel between Tagum and Davao through Tagum. 8.5, workers from Tagum are permitted to work outside the city with the exception of those employed by the COVID-19 crisis management and response team who must present proper identity. 8.6. Drivers and assistant of cargo and delivery vehicles as well as supply delivery trucks are not permitted to leave the vehicle while it is being loaded or unloaded. 8.7. All other operations not covered by these instructions must be coordinated with the Tagum and Davao City's respective COVID-19 crisis management and response teams. 8.8. After 24 hours, roadblocks will be erected. And lastly, 8.9, temperature checks will be conducted on passengers and drivers exempted vehicles. 9. According to Labor Advisory Number 09, series of 2020 issued by the Department of Labor and Employment, private enterprises based in Tagum must design and implement flexible work arrangements for their individual employees. Number 10. Residents should be courteous when purchasing items and essentials. If necessary, only one individual per household should be in charge of purchasing commodities for their consumption. It is strictly forbidden to stockpile masks and disinfectants, engage in panic buying, or spread misleading information. Number 11. Price Act or Republic Act numbers 7581 requires the Department of the Trade and Industry to enforce a price freeze based on suggested retail of basic commodities and necessities. Meat, fish, and vegetable prices will be frozen at the current price set by the Interagency Price Monitoring Team for COVID-19. Number 12. All entertainment establishments, including KTVs, bars, massage and wellness spas, nightclubs, internet cafe, Pesonet, Wi-Fi bendo, and island resort, as well as any other types of gambling, have been shut down from 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. Citywide liquor ban will be enacted. Number 13. From 9 p.m. to 5 a.m., a citywide curfew will be imposed. Those having essential movements connected to job and or medical situation are exempt for the citywide curfew. Number 14. Malls are urged to open only the most basic amenities such as groceries, arcades, movie and theaters, and other places where people might congregate should be shuttered. The LGU's COVID-19 guidance number 1 must be properly observed. Number 15. Everyone is encouraged to do their banking and meetings online. Number 16. Tagum City Public Transit will be permitted as long as the Department of Health's preventive procedures are followed. Number 17. All such activities that may be found to be useful in the community quarantine in the future. During the COVID-19 pandemic, hygienic behavior like as maintaining a safe and secure physical distancing from others were important as proposed by Annalot Wisman's 2020 on her study about hygienic behavior and physical distancing, distinct public health-related behaviors and the protocol implementation. It became important in order to avoid crowds, use face masks, and follow hygienic guidelines. To prevent the progression of COVID-19, law enforcement agencies have implemented a variety of strategies including hygienic behavior and imposed physical distancing, all of which requires significant changes in everyday habits under Sun et al. 2020 and Hale et al. 2020. Scholars from all across the world have been trying to learn more about how people comply with such recommendations or limits. Similarly, government agencies such as the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention, CDC 2020, the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, in the United States of America, stress the need of keeping physical distancing and hygienic behavior during the COVID-19 pandemic to help prevent the virus from dispersion. The most crucial measure that should be performed according to the Polish Chief Sanitary Inspectorate is to hand washing should be done often everyone and avoid staying in crowded place, according to the Department of Health NIH. The majority of current research on people's compliance with public health-related behaviors like physical distancing and hygienic behavior during the COVID-19 epidemic focuses on composite measures of many types of behaviors. Rather than discriminating between them, government actions, on the other hand, entail alteration to variety of various daily behaviors in the domination of what the people should act upon. More so, the research of Young 2020 has stressed out the public compliance with important health habits is required, or physical distancing and hygienic behavior, mere mitigation techniques to work individual level variables predict adherence to COVID-19 guidelines, which may be targeted by public health messaging and interventions are being examined.
Theoretical framework. This study is anchored to Buckley and Capel in 1990. Book of Theory and Practice of Training, it states that effective training has a positive impact on a specific individual, group, or organization. Further, it talks on planned approach to modify viewpoint, knowledge, ability, or conduct via learning expertise to grasp successful performance in a certain task or range of activities. Also, one of its objectives, among other things, is to develop the abilities of certain person and to meet the organization future demands. In this pandemic epoch, it is imperative that the people who implement the protocols must have been properly trained regarding of what should be done. This theory emphasized that this barangay tanod should holistically guided. The standard of training must, especially in their trying times. In order to perform better, one must act accordance to a certain practice. Conceptual framework. Input. COVID-19 protocol implementation. Physical distancing and hygienic behavior. Process. Administrating of the questionnaire, tabulation of responses. C. Statistical analysis of data and interpretation. Output. Level of protocol implementation and crafting of training enhancement plan. Research objectives. This study focuses on the protocol implementation and the training enhancement plan of Barangay Tanod for COVID-19 in Barangay Apocon, Tagum City, Philippines. Specifically, this study seeks an answer of the following objectives. 1. To assess the level of protocol implementation in the prevention of COVID-19 Barangay Apocon in terms of 1.1. Physical distancing and 1.2. Hygienic behavior. To create a training enhancement plan to be enacted by the Barangay Tanod in the protocol implementation in the prevention of COVID-19 and Barangay Apocon. Method. This section of the research describes in detail how the study will be conducted. Similarly, it presents the participants, materials, instruments, designs, and procedures observed in the study. Mr. Tan.
Respondents. The respondents of the study are the Barangay Tanod of Barangay Apog, Tagum City, Davao del Norte, Philippines. They will be chosen by researchers based on purposive sampling procedure. We have chosen this kind of sampling because of the pandemic that is still happening today. And we care about the safeties of people, but most importantly, we will ensure the could somehow cater many respondents in this study in order to get the most valid and reliable data. According to Black in 2010, in this technique, researchers often believe that they can obtain a representative sample by using a sound judgment, which will result in saving time and money. These respondents will answer a questionnaire checklist that will be crafted by the researchers based on standard of IITF when it comes to the precautionary research needed to avoid spread of virus. The constituents of Barangay Apocon will be chosen as the respondents of the study because most of us, the researchers living in this area, and we want to know if the implementation of the COVID-19 protocol is manifested. Moreover, the goal of the researchers is to test the level of the variable in specific to determine if the implementation properly executed or not. The total population of the respondents also satisfied the quantity required for the research to be reliable. Instrument. The study will be utilizing one researcher-made survey instrument to gather data. First is the survey questionnaire, which is used to find out the level of trainings and the implementation of COVID-19 protocols. The survey questionnaire will be composed of 40 statements in totally. Moreover, the survey questionnaire is subjected to content validation depending on how many experts will the advisor propose. The content validity index CVI of each item will be computed by statistician to determine if each item statement is approved by the recommended validators. Upon achieving this, a pilot test will be administered to Barangay Tanod of Barangay San Miguel. The responses will be tallied and subjected to computation using Cronbunch alpha to gauge the reliability of the survey questionnaires. Design and procedure. The research work with use of quantitative, non-experimental design with descriptive method. The descriptive method involves the answering of questions pertaining to the status of the subject being studied, particularly to narrow down the general characteristic of trainings and implementation of COVID-19 protocols level and to suggest appropriate training and enhancement plan of the Barangay Tanod in Barangay Apocon. The data gathering procedure, the following steps will be observed in the conduct of the study. The researchers will write a letter addressed to the program head in the College of Criminal Justice Education, noted by the research advisor and also to the barangay captain of Apocon. The researchers then seek permissions from the respondents to accept the research events and for them to participate. Another letter will be sent to the respondents with the questionnaires and approval from the research advisor asking for the respondents to be part of the study. After all the approval of the permission, the researchers will be administered the survey test. The researchers personally distributed to the researcher-made survey questionnaires to the respondents considering to the proper health protocols. The necessary data was compiled, tabulated, and interpreted accordingly. And in the data analysis, the researchers this statistical tool mean this will be used to measure the level of protocol implementation in the prevention of COVID-19 in Apocon, Tagum City, Davao del Norte, Philippines. Thank you. That's all.
Outline defense of the group Z2064 with the title of COVID-19 Protocol Implementation of Apocon Tagum City Basis for Training Enhancement Plan. That could be all. God bless everyone.